Welcome to the first video in a set of videos for our GDES41 class. And what we're going to do today is just get an idea of Unity as a platform and understand where certain pieces are. And at the end of this video, you'll have a quick assignment just to make sure you understand how to upload and export your files. So once you log in and make an account in Unity, it's free. You'll get to this page where yours will be blank, mine won't. And what you'll do is you'll just click up here on new, and we're gonna make a new project and give your project a name. So I'm just gonna give it Lab1 underscore, and then I'm just gonna put my name for right now, and then what you're going to do is click on 2D because we're going to work in 2D first. And the rest of it, you could just pick where it's located, and your organization should just be your name. Okay, so once you do that, just create project. And once you click on that, you'll get, based on how fast your computer is, it might take a second. But once you're in, you'll get all of this showing up. Now, right here on the right side, you see all these other things. Let's not worry about this right now. But this is how your layout is in Unity when we first start. Now, starting on the left side, where my mouse is called the hierarchy tab. Everything has its own tabs. So this hierarchy is pretty much laying out whatever's in the game will start showing up here. And once we add something to here, I'll just add something real quick. So I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to add a UI object and an image. So now you see kind of how it's starting to say, hey, there's a canvas, there's all these items. We'll cover that in a second, but it gives you an idea of where everything is. Now at the bottom, you see where it says project. This is where you're going to manage all your assets and everything you use to make your game. And right now it's blank, and we'll slowly start filling it in. Okay, and then if you click right next to it is a console. This is where we're going to do a lot of debugging, and it'll also tell us what errors we might have. So that's going to be very helpful. And then to the right now it says services. If you click to the left of it is inspector. So anything I click in the hierarchy, it'll show me details here. So if I click on canvas, I get something different. I click on camera, I get something else, and so forth. So that's kind of the general layout of everything. Actually, the most important part is what's here in the middle is the scene, and then in the middle is the game. If you actually clicked on the game is what people would actually see, like when you're playing the game. And then the asset store is a place that Unity, you could log in and you can download all sorts of things that would help you make your game, from assets to scripts to light skyboxes to also there's so much stuff that's available that it's one thing that we will use. For right now, we're just gonna leave it as is. And so if I went back to scene, this is how my scene is. This doesn't kind of help me at all at the moment. So what I would say is, if you added this image, go ahead and just double click it. If you haven't added it, just add it now by right clicking, going to UI and clicking on image, and it kind of zoomed out a bit. Now you can use the scrolling up and down to zoom in and out if you want, so you could kind of see how everything is. So if I hit play up here, it plays whatever you set up in your game so far. The world itself, if you don't have anything in it, defaults to this blue color. And this white box actually is this white box right here. So just to push play again, just kind of shows you that's what you see. Now, when you set up 2D, it's going to be a lot different than 3D, and we'll cover that later. But for the most part, what we're going to be working on is in the 2D side of Unity for our first assignment. So now we have our image in place, and everything that shows up needs to be under a canvas. So that's why it automatically added a canvas for us. And now we have an image. So, okay. We're kind of getting some stuff going, but this box is really small. How do I make it big? Well, you could go to the blue dot and you could kind of do this, which, helps you kind of guide, fill it. But it's like, well, what if I wanted to do it a little bit more efficiently? You can by clicking on the image, and then on the inspector, you're going to start seeing what this image is actually made out of. Right now it's a rect transform box, meaning you can change the size of this box, okay? And it gives you the position, X and Y, rotation, and then it has an image script because we want to put an image in this box eventually, okay? So the one thing that I want you guys to do right now is if you click on this box right here, you get all these presets. So every object has an anchor. So based on where you want to position the anchor, you're gonna slowly get used to this when you practice. But if you want it to be in the center, top, left, right, based on if you have a character walking, how do you want it positioned? There's all these things that we'll have to figure out. However, right now, we're just going to keep it centered. The important thing is, you read this part right here, it says, Shift also sets pivot and Alt sets the position. So if you hold Shift and Alt down, notice how the options change. And you could kind of look and see what it's doing. But if you go to the bottom right and click it once, notice how it just filled this whole page. Now that's a quick way to get this done. Once you do that, you kind of have this whole filled. So that's kind of nice. So in this assignment, in this lab, you're actually going to add one object, one element into Unity, and you're going to actually try to put in an image, a object, whatever you want, and you're going to export it out and turn it in. So in this one, what we're going to do is, right now we have this whole box filled. So if I hit play, notice how it's all white, okay? And what we're going to do is now import an image. So that's where this project tab comes into place. And so down here in this assets area, we're going to right click, we're going to go create, and create a folder, and let's call it images. And you want to kind of keep this area clean and organized, because once you get into game development and further into your game, you're going to realize that it's nice to be organized because you can find things faster and it just makes life a lot easier. So we're going to double click into images folder, and then we're going to right click again. And this time I'm going to go import new asset. So then it's going to say, well, what do you want to do? So I'm going to go ahead and get into the class, and I have this one asset right here. You could pick anything you want. I took this from the assets from Braid. It's a game that I could give you guys a link to, and he provided all the assets, or most of the assets from the game, for anyone to do whatever they want. So it's a nice way of starting off. So now that we have this here, this is pretty much our image, and it kind of tells us what everything's going on here. It's a Sprite 2D UI and all this. We're going to go over all this in a different video, but for now, everything is just leave it as is. And what we're going to really do is just click back on this image in the hierarchy. And then right here where it's a source image, right there, what we're going to do is just grab this image and drag it over. Notice how it gets highlighted? So it won't get highlighted here, but here it does. So that kind of tells you that it belongs there. And you let it go, and notice how it got filled. And it did, added that information in here, and you hit play. And now I have a background. So this is just kind of showing you just a little bit about how Unity does work in terms of adding some stuff. So the first assignment really is to add an element. I prefer you just doing a background image or just an image itself. Feel free to do multiple. And then you're going to learn how to export it out and upload it onto Canvas. So that's the next part. First thing we need to do, we need to save our project. So we could go File and Save Project. That way we're good to go on that. And now what we need to do is save the actual scene. Each scene, I guess you could consider it as a level, or even if you wanted to use a reference in terms of how movies are made, there's every scenes where there's like a cut to a different location or fading to black and then another scene happens and whatnot. You can manage your games like that. So each one of these layouts is called a scene. Now, what we want to do is go back up here in our assets and make a new folder, and let's call it scenes, and then go in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save this scene. So let's go to File, Save Scene, and it's going to pop up. It's like, okay, I want to go into scenes, and then I'm just going to type this as, I'm just going to call this Lab1, and I'm going to hit save. Now notice how the Unity icon showed up here. Now this is a scene. Okay, once you've done this, you know that you've actually saved your actual scene in your project. Now it's important to do saving your project and the scenes. That way then if you come back to it, you're actually, everything is there that you last left it as. Okay. Another thing to remember is if I pushed play here, I push play and I'm looking at this, I'm like, cool. I could actually go back to here and start working in this project. So let's say if I added something else, I'm going to add another image, and I'm going to move this around, and why not just add one more just for fun? Okay, so I did this. I was like, cool. I did a bunch of work, made some changes. Let's say I made this larger. Okay, right? And then if I go, oh, I'm still playing, let me unplay. Notice how everything just disappeared. So it's just important to know when you actually have this button pushed and you're playing, you need to stop it in order to make any new changes. So why did Unity do this? It's more because when you get to a point where you could do some troubleshooting and whatnot, you could actually switch back, check some things, and actually do some live testing and whatnot. But we'll go over that piece later. Just know that you want to uncheck or unclick the play and then do everything. That way you don't lose hours of work. All right. So now that we have this, I'm just make sure it's saved properly. And now what we're going to do is export out our project. Now, this is very important to make sure you kind of understand that throughout this whole class, we're going to export out your projects. That way I can import them in with everything in it. Now, Canvas might have some file restrictions, so I will upload most likely a Dropbox or something of that nature to make sure that I get the proper file size from you guys, okay? So for now, this exercise, you'll be able to submit it normally. All right, so we're going to click on Assets, and what we're going to do is Export Package. All right, and once it does this, it'll show you everything that you have. Right now, I had an image and I had a scene, I had these folders. That's all I have, and that's perfect. So I'm going to click on Export, and it's going to ask me, oh, where do I want it to save? So I'm just going to save it within the project that I'm in. You can change it to wherever you want, like the desktop or wherever, but this just makes life easier. And the project package, what you're going to upload, you need to make sure you put your last name, first name, and then underscore, and what project it is, Lab1. All right, so I hit save, and now it's saved. It opened up a Finder, and it saved right here. Now this package is what you'll be uploading into Canvas. You might need to zip it if it doesn't accept this file. It should, but just in case you have any issues, just go ahead and zip it. Now, how do I know this actually works? Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and make a brand new project, and then I'm gonna call this Lab1 import project test. Just to show you, click on 2D. I'm gonna create the project. It's gonna make a brand new project, open it up, and then all right, now what I'm gonna do is click on assets, import package, and we're gonna do a custom package, and then it's gonna ask what do we want to do. I'm gonna go back to where I saved my package and hit open, and you'll get the same window again, but this time it'll tell you what you're importing and if it's new. And that's important because sometimes you might be importing a package into an existing project, and as long as you keep the same file structure and everything, it'll actually tell you which one's new, which's not, so you don't necessarily have to replace everything every time. So right now all that looks good. I click on import. Hey, it showed up down here, but nothing showed up here. Well, did I do it right? Well, let's check it out. So let's click on scenes, and there's Lab1. And it's important to know when you import something, it doesn't automatically show up on your hierarchy and everything because you need to load the scene. So now we have Lab1. So we're just going to double click that. And now we have some stuff that shows up. So let's just double click here, and we got everything that we did. So what I want you guys all to work on is getting a little familiar with this, and then at least add one object into your project, and then export it. Make sure you label it correctly, and then upload it to the assignments folder in Canvas.